It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. Wrestling Inc. podcast live with you as we're getting you through the middle of the week. It's the best way to end your Wednesday, or if you can serve us like a yummy snack, we're the best treat later, maybe sometime Thursday on demand. Whatever it is, it's all good. I'm Justin LaBar here alongside my normal Wednesday night panel after a little bit of a shakeup in the last few weeks. We have back from Los Angeles, California. She is our Demon Diva, Issa, the NYC Demon Diva. Issa, Issa, how are you? And welcome back from LA and all of your Mania travels.
I'm doing good. I missed you guys. I'm excited to be back talking wrestling with both of you.
We missed you, and of course now the countdown's on for the next big event in Puerto Rico here in a few weeks. So
Backlash, yeah, you know, no days off. It's literally the motto right now, and I'm enjoying it.
I like it. I like it. Jimmy Korderas, former WWE referee for over 20 years. It doesn't mean he's team WWE. It just means that he's team referee and logic and rules. It's always fun to see him apply that vision to everything he's watching and bring it here on the podcast. Jimmy, up north in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Jimmy, how are you tonight? I'm
doing great because the weather up here has been really, really good. It's almost like early June weather up here for us. So, you know, I'm taking it. I'll take these days as they come because next week it's supposed to chill out again, according to the meteorologist. But you know how correct they are sometimes.
Yeah, same. It was high 70s here today. So feeling good. Love that kind of weather. Mm-hmm. It's when you crack one, you know, just shy of 5 o'clock and bring the sunshine in. All right. Well, before we get into Dynamite tonight, I see everybody starting to pile into the chat. We appreciate it for all of you that like to be part of the broadcast here live. And again, if you can't be part of it live or you want to check it out after the fact, we thank you there as well. No matter what you're doing, a like, a comment, a subscribe, a tell a friend, any and all of those are acceptable and encouraged for the podcast here on Wrestling Inc. Almost every single night podcast. So certainly you will get your fill of content from the cast of characters that we are. Let's talk on some news items first before we jump into the Dynamite. Let's do our one WWE news item that we had on the block here tonight, and that is Gable Steveson. You've probably heard that name. He was the first person to sign an NIL deal with WWE. He's made some appearances on some WWE programs before, some cameos. Maybe the most decorated amateur wrestler. Probably the most decorated amateur wrestler WWE's been involved with since Brock Lesnar. And, you know, we kind of been expecting, boys and girls, that he would be getting going in the process of working his way to the roster. He actually has a brother that's already currently in NXT. But it looks like any part of him being a full-time regular member of the roster is probably going to be put on some delay, as according to a press release from Team USA, Steveson has registered for the U.S. Open which is set to take place later this month. Now, the U.S. Open is the first step in qualifying for the U.S. Olympic trials for next summer for the 2024 Olympic Games. So he has mentioned before, he mentioned in March in an interview with MMA Fighting that he was interested in participating in the 2024 Olympic Games. And so, big University of Minnesota wrestling name. It looked like he was going to be going to WWE. Jimmy, he probably still has obviously the contract and the avenue, but it is put on hold. You've seen Brock, you've seen Mark Henry, you've seen Kurt Angle, you've seen a lot of names cross over during your time there in WWE. What do you make of Gable Steveson so far, of what you saw or know of him, and what do you make of this decision by him?
No, obviously I see the potential there. It's just a matter of him capitalizing on it. And if he's still got the bug, here's the thing: if he's still got the bug to participate in the Olympics and do the amateur wrestling thing and want to take that one more time, he can't put his full concentration and mindset into the pro wrestling avenue. And for those, let's just put it this way: if you do pro wrestling, you can go back to amateur wrestling. It's a different animal altogether. Let's put it that way for anybody who's questioning that, if anybody is. But like I said, I think if his mindset is like he still has something he wants to accomplish there. He's already won a gold medal, if I'm not mistaken, for the U.S. Maybe he wants to be a 2-time gold medalist, whatever the case may be. If that's in the back of his head, it's going to take away from him putting his full efforts into becoming a regular roster member in the WWE. So let him do what he wants to do. And it's a gamble for him because, if he does not accomplish his goals, does that hurt his standing with WWE? It's a weird kind of cat and mouse game.
Yeah, Issa, let me pose this question off of what Jimmy said. And let me just run through real quick Gable's accomplishments. He won his first gold medal at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics in freestyle wrestling. He's gotten several amateur wrestling awards. He's won 2 NCAA titles, 3 Big Ten titles, 2 Dan Hodge trophies. So in my mind, I kind of like, what else is there to prove and accomplish? And I kind of think about like this, Issa. Mark Henry, it's been documented that when Mark Henry was in WWE for a couple of years, and he was just kind of still trying to find his way, but they'd already made a grand investment in him. And then he wanted to go back into the world of strongman and once again reclaim the actual title of World's Strongest Man. And basically summarizing a whole lot of things here, Vince McMahon basically said, okay, I'll let you take the time off and do it, but you better win it because I ain't got room for anybody's title of second place World's Strongest Man. I kind of feel like Gable, he's kind of put himself in this position. You have nothing more really to prove. All you could do is potentially hurt your legacy by having a fumbled performance. So maybe I'm just greedy, but I say get the hell out of there and start making some money, more money in WWE, in the world of pro wrestling, where they're going to tell you if you're going to win or not.
Yeah, I think if I'm WWE, I just to be able to say, hey, he participated. If he accomplishes this gold medal goal, like it will look so much better for when he's finally ready to come. So I think the possibilities of what he could accomplish makes up for the time that they'll have to wait to have him finally be here.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this shakes out. But yeah, Gable Steveson, and I mean, this is a guy that was already been featured in the draft before. It was drafted to Raw. I think they showed him on SummerSlam before. I mean, that's certainly not probably what WWE was expecting. I'd be very curious if we get any word from their side of their feelings towards this, or if he cleared this with them before this announcement came out. So who do we see in a professional wrestling ring first? Gable Steveson or CM Punk? That's the running. That's where the odds are these days. CM Punk, the latest news on him. According to Fightful Select, Punk has been in contact with AEW. He's reiterating a desire to resume wrestling. Supposedly, he's laid out different scenarios. He's willing to bury the hatchet with the Elite. He's willing to, he's got the bug apparently again to still wrestle. I guess he read Steve Kern's book and that kind of lit the fire up some more. But of course, we've heard about Jericho and Moxley and others kind of saying, "Don't want them, don't need them." But and Tony Khan as Tony Khan's avoided the answering this question. He understands he's going to be asked it, but he's avoided answering it. Dax Harwood is advocating for CM Punk every day and is in regular contact with him and wants a 6-man tag with him versus the Elite. Issa, are we starting to hear? Is CM Punk showing his hand? Is that going to eventually lead to where Tony Khan's just not going to be able to say no any longer, and he's going to have to bring him back, especially when you have a giant stadium show that you just announced in England in August?
Yeah, with the announcement of All In, I would assume that you will want to sort that out. I think he will help, but I do think there has to be a lot of things to be discussed and arrangements to be made so things that happened in the past don't happen again. But I mean, this is one of Tony Khan's biggest investments. As far as we know, he might still be paying him to do nothing. And CM Punk, like it or not, did pay it off, right? They were getting huge gates, they were breaking records. But I do think there has to be a lot of conversations and a lot of things said and maybe even put on paper so that things don't get out of hand again.
Jimmy, it's interesting. The problems that really the event obviously that spilled everything over was physically involved Punk and the Bucks and Omega. And according to this report, what we're hearing, the Bucks and Omega are all kind of willing to like put this past and like let's just move on and let's do some business. But we're hearing others, like Jericho and like Moxley, who are apparently not are not in favor of Punk. What do you make of this? And is it a case of where look, Punk hasn't been in a wrestling ring in the UK since 2013, so this would be a 10-year homecoming that would certainly put some butts in some seats. Like, is it worth the risk so you don't falter on this big stadium show internationally? Is it worth the risk of what it could still shake up internally?
I would have to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is their first venture overseas, is it not?
I believe so. Yeah, because they wanted to a couple years ago within the pandemic. So yeah, I think this is the first. Yeah.
So they want to make an impression. It's Wembley Stadium. It's a big stadium. Yes, you can configure it to fit in as many people as you like and make it look bigger than it actually is. But at the same time, you want that you want that number, that big number out there where you can impress people and put it out in the press, especially for a company like AEW who likes to tout their ratings. They like to tout their financial successes. Like it or not, for Chris Jericho and Moxley and guys like that, CM Punk is a draw, especially in that neck of the woods and to that audience that they cater to. So if you want to draw a big crowd, yes, but you're going to have to, like you said, put some provisions in place and maybe have not only some sworn affidavits, but some I's need to be dotted and T's need to be crossed. And I'm sure that if everybody puts their business thinking hat on and says, hey, we can make money off of this. It's not just about us playing nice and being nice with each other. It's happened all over in wrestling for how many years where guys didn't get along, but they understood that if we can put our differences aside for the 15, 20 minutes we're out there doing business, we could all make a lot of money and then go our own separate ways. And if they could do that, then I say more power to them. But there's always a risk because he does have a reputation for being a little unpredictable at times. But put it in writing, like you said.
Yeah. What would be intriguing is that if they do bring him back, and it kind of like everybody kind of is led to believe, if you bring him back and you bring him back to try to help draw a big house like Wembley, we're all kind of we're assuming in our fantasy booking that they're going to just lean in and have him opposite the ring of the Elite, right? And most of AEW's audience pretty much knows something happened because they are an audience that follows along with the backstage controversies.
Right.
However, you still need to account for trying to draw some new fans or draw, maybe some younger fans or people that don't know that really something happened or don't know, like, for all they know, CM Punk got hurt and he's not been around. So it would be intriguing because AEW is going to have to finally break some of the legal silence that they've had and like at least tell a version. It may not be the truth. Mm-hmm. It might be a sensationalized version or a slanted version to fit the storyline booking narrative. But nonetheless, they're going to have to finally open their mouths and talk about the incident of what happened to make somebody a babyface and somebody a heel in the scenario. Right. And that's actually what's most intriguing to me about this whole thing is that they're actually going to have to then, they're going to have to tell us some version. They're going to have to reenact it somehow.
Right. And one of the things I find interesting, because a little bit of the conspiracy theorist in me, when I hear people like Jericho and Moxley saying, we don't need him here. And then if he shows up, there's another scenario where you can match him up with other people and do business.
Very true. Very true. Jim, there was somebody, and see if I get it real quick. It wasn't a super chat, but somebody, oh, here we go. Jonathan Mitchell wants me to ask you, how is Nick Patrick doing? Is Nick Patrick not well?
I don't know. I haven't messaged him in a while, but I know he's looking after his boy and stuff like that. And he seemed okay a little while ago. Last time I interacted with him, I don't know if something's wrong, but as far as I know, he's good down there in Georgia.
All right. Well, we'll keep our word to it. Again, super chats, we appreciate them. We'll use them when we get them. I believe I even saw a question coming to my Twitter that we'll bring up when we get to that portion of the show. But let's go ahead now and jump into AEW Dynamite, coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yes, originally Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land.
Nice.
If you got that reference, you can hang with me. All right, we started off with Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland, and they do show a little flashback to Rampage to catch you up, which I appreciate. They did a little bit more of this recently, and I like them doing this because I always complain about too much happens on other shows, and then they expect us to know. Swerve Strickland, he's now aligned with the embassy, so you got his mogul plus the embassy with Prince Nana and Brian Cage, and by the way, Brian Cage, real quick, in the news just recently, he apparently has signed a new long-term deal with AEW. I don't know about you two, but I'm a little surprised by that. But I mean, good for him if he's getting paid. A little surprised because he's been one of the bigger guys, bigger in physical size, that has had inconsistent.
Yeah, but
momentum.
he also didn't have a lot of positive things to say about his time with WWE.
Yeah,
right.
So I thought this could go either way with him, just because he did get a shot with WWE, and he has been spoken about how he wasn't enjoying his time over there. So I thought it was going to be 50-50 with him.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Jimmy, he's if the internet tells the truth here, he's 39 years old. So
right.
Not to be ageist, because I'm way closer to 39 than I am 29. But that might be passed by sell date for WWE in terms of like, oh, we're not going to start from scratch with you again. So maybe if AEW, maybe that long-term deal is the best thing he's going to get.
Yeah, it very possibly could be, and it could be strictly business, and he's looking for the best deal he can get. And if that sounds like what he got here, and having another name value talent leave to go to the WWE, especially with what we're seeing with Cody. I'm not saying that Cage is on the same level as a Cody, but still, perception is reality to some. Oh, all of a sudden people are going back. What's going on here?
Yeah. All right, so yeah, him and Prince Nana come out real quick with Swerve Strickland at the ramp, but then they leave. So we get Swerve versus Darby Allin. This one starts out hot and heavy. Darby just as a human, wrecking ball and torpedo. It goes from that, but then it transitions into a point in the match where we're in leg locks and we're in submissions, and Darby's really working on Swerve's ankle. That's the physical story they're telling here.
Yeah, like literally, he's eating it.
Yes, he is. At one point, the holy shit moment is Darby hits a reverse Hurricane Rana off of the apron onto the floor onto Swerve. Oh, that was a little nerve-wracking. Eventually, we see Prince Nana come out and he puts Swerve's foot on the ropes to stop Swerve from being the victim of the coffin drop. And then we eventually see Brian Cage come out and pull the leg of Darby. That finally has the referee throw them out so they get kicked out. And eventually Darby wins by doing the Last Supper, which is basically it's like an ankle lock that he then locks up the ankle but then pins your shoulder. So it does tie in with the ankle that he was working on here. So Darby does get the victory. Real quick before we go to the match, also Swerve later backstage kind of mad, and it's basically like he's got a long list of beefs that have been growing here in AEW, and it's time for him to start settling and start getting his, which is a key to think about for later on in the show. Issa, how did this opening match and the fact that Swerve Strickland is a big part of the theme tonight go for you?
I thought it was a fun opener. There was a lot of, it got a little weird there. I was telling you, I was like, is he really biting his foot? That threw me off for a little bit. But outside of that, I thought Swerve looked good. As somebody that didn't watch for a couple of weeks, I did feel a little bit lost, and that's on me, obviously. But I did feel a little bit lost to see all of these people coming out to assist Swerve. Last I saw him, he was just with his own faction. But outside of that, it was fun. Darby was bleeding. I was a lot more into what happened after than the match itself, if you want me to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, how did this rate for you to open up the night?
No, I agree. I agree with Lisa. It was a fun opener. There, of course, the little things. If at one point did I see a chain being utilized in this? And
oh yeah, his own his necklace chain that he used it.
Yeah,
Swerve used it on Darby.
I know, but still, it's it's a little questionable there. But I guess because he was wearing it, they allowed it. But yeah, it was a fun little opener. At least it wasn't a kick. What was the maneuver off the ring apron onto the floor?
It was a reverse hurricanrana.
Hurricanrana.
Yeah,
got him back in the ring, and at least the foot was placed on the rope by Prince Nana, as opposed to him kicking out of a big maneuver like that.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that later. But yeah, it was okay. And the crowd was into it. They're into guys like Orange Cassidy, so they got what they wanted. They were happy. But like Issa, what happened afterwards was really the strong point.
Yeah, so Darby stays out there. Here comes MJF. He's going to take us into commercial break, and we come back. MJF starts to cut a promo on the Darby. He puts over Darby, though. He does put him over and say that puts over Darby and him and Darby's 2021 match, saying that Darby's might be one of the best that MJF has stood across from in the ring. Darby says that he's ashamed of MJF and asked him if he's happy. Talks about how, are you happy? You told me back in the day when you broke in that once you make national TV, all your problems are going to go away. Darby talks about how he checked himself into therapy his first year in AEW, and that he knows that this ride is only 15 minutes long, and that he doesn't want to look back and wonder what has he done to his life. So he's trying to give back. So the money he started making from AEW, he's bought his parents a house, helped his dad retire. MJF calls him an arrogant little boy. Talks about how Darby's so worried about morals and doing the right thing. And then MJF says, in this business, morals kills careers. Very interesting points of there. MJF says he's fine if he dies alone. He's fine if he doesn't go to heaven. He will do whatever it takes for his legacy to go down and be the best, and for him to remain world champion and top of the business. He says you're going to go down as your legacy is going to be Sting's little bitch. Which that then enters Sting. Sting comes out, and he starts to make reference to Cody's daycare and starting to make reference to Cody Rhodes and how once upon a time MJF had somebody looking after him, a support system. That's exactly what Sting is to Darby, is a support system. And Sting says now he's Darby's support system. Back in the day, he had Ric Flair, he had Crow Sting, he had Nash, he had Hall. And finally, Darby says, I am going to be the next AEW world champ, before MJF spits in his face and leaves. So Issa, I'll let you go back to it. You loved what was going on here. Peel back the layers here.
I loved a few things, and there was a few things that were questionable for me. I really, I've been seeing a lot of back and forth on the internet about MJF kind of doing the same thing. I love that he started this promo by putting Darby over. This is not something that we see MJF do a lot, right? He comes out, talks crap about his opponent, talks crap about the city. I like that he took a different approach here. I like what Darby had to say. The WWE references, I guess Cody is a weird one, right? Because a Sting reference to Cody back when he was in AEW has nothing to do with WWE, but now it feels like a WWE reference. But overall, it was for a 12, 13-minute talking segment, I liked it. I thought all three players got their shots in there, and I was very, very interested, very into it. And I like what Sting had to say here. Overall, I thought it was great.
Jimmy,
yeah,
you've been in the business. Morals kills careers. What a line.
That's a terrific line. And you know what? Believe it or not, if they'd have made more out of that line and put more emphasis into it, that's a T-shirt.
Yeah,
waiting to be made. And like he said, I enjoyed this segment very much because I was kind of like, okay, the four pillars and they're all after. But after a segment like that, I'm more now emotionally invested in now wanting to see more interaction between Darby Allin and MJF. They both, with their words and Sting's words, of course, got me more invested in the story going forward. And that's what it's about. And as I keep saying, you can do all the twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splashes you want. But when you have a segment like that where people, you heard the crowd, they were like oohing and ahhing, and they were with it the entire way. They talked me into wanting to see this in the future.
Yeah, and they also made reference, as the theme has been for weeks now, of they are two of the four pillars, and the other ones being of AEW, Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy. Out of the three options, out of those three, out of Darby, Sammy, and Jungle Boy, this is to both of you. Jimmy, I'll let you go first. Is Darby the most intriguing one to put opposite of MJF?
I think so for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, and I hate to make this compare, it's a size thing where you think, okay, like this misconception of smaller guys can't carry the load for a company. And we've seen in the past, even in the land of the giants of WWE, the current Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio changed the thinking on that completely when he became, champ there. So he's the most intriguing one. Jungle Boy does have a good following, but I think there's a different story for him in the future involving maybe, someone else that we saw briefly tonight, and Luchasaurus and Christian. But in a nutshell, I think Darby is the one who looks like the most intriguing for me.
Issa, if they draw this out to Double or Nothing in May, is Darby the best of the other pillars for him to go up against MJF?
I like Darby just because I was there at that Full Gear. I enjoyed their match. It was my favorite match of the night, and this is the same night that Hangman won the title. It was a story that was 2 years in the making, and I still walked away mind blown by Darby versus MJF. It's one that I wouldn't mind seeing again. It's a whole different story. It's a whole different MJF now with the title, so I wouldn't mind them running it again. When I put him against Jungle Boy or Sammy, I just don't see the same intrigue for me as I would with Darby. So yeah, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, I find Darby to be the most interesting out of the three. And maybe even if you position this a little bit later in the calendar, but I understand you're doing it now because, like Darby said weeks ago, there's not going to ever be a bidding war of 2024 for him. He's kind of AEW for life, and he had another interview too recently where he's talked about like he likes AEW because of the creative freedom, whereas he made a comment how like if he was in WWE, they would have had him be some weird freaky character jerking off in the boiler room, and so like I feel like he is going to be AEW for life, and so that opposite of an MJF who is openly touting like I'm going to the highest bidder and makes references to Bruce Pritchard and to Triple H and whatever, it does create the most kind of yin and yang of AEW for life, the misfit looking, Darby versus the stereotypical just asshole with no morals at MJF. So I do think it kind of has the most intriguing, contrast to each other. So yeah, really, really entertaining stuff here. They have yet to again say when there will be a match, and I think they'd have to probably get on that here soon and let us know. But I would assume Double or Nothing. They have Double or Nothing coming up, and they have Forbidden Door in June, and then of course the show at Wembley. So I would think they would go to the first one available, which would be Double or Nothing. Real quick super chat for that segment. Corey Pride. Well, first he's talking about the ankle and all that. Said the foot fetish stuff was gross. Sting's promo, loving on his rivals and name checking WWE's second biggest star was stupid. But like what Issa was just saying, I think it's not. He's making reference to Cody when Cody helped start AEW. Cody had endorsed MJF, who was on the independent scene and this and that. So it's not. It's not. It had Sting worded it as, the guy that just main evented WrestleMania on the other show. Like if he would have done all that, that would have been unnecessary. But he just said Cody, and Cody is forever. Nothing can ever change. Cody could be WWE World Champion. Nothing can ever change history, which is Cody is a founding building block of AEW.
And that's how MJF. That was MJF's first big feud, in my opinion. His feud against Cody. So while MJF has that title, and we're talking about the history of MJF, you have to think about Cody that way. It was just funny when he first mentioned it. You think WWE, but when he started saying Cody they care and you start running back history, I did think of AEW Cody at that time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, Jimmy, I did not think this was actually one of the low hanging fruit to WWE. It was actually if
No.
there's ever an appropriate time to bring up Cody, it was in the context it is tonight.
Right, exactly. It didn't feel like a shot. It wasn't a shot across the bow kind of thing. Like you said, Justin, it wasn't like that guy who just main evented WrestleMania and blah, 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 or anything like that. And even go as far as to say, and failed to win their championship. It's a great role model there or anything. He was just, stating fact, basically. And
Yeah,
again,
Jimmy.
what's that?
That would have been great, actually.
Oh, no, I don't know. I think Sting is above that, but anyway.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see too. Sting said that the showtime is almost over. He said he's not interested in that AEW World Title. Basically conceded that he's an old man in a young man's game. But he said almost over. I would be curious if he does say like, "Hey, I'm not going for that World Title, so you don't need to put it on the line." But I do have a little something to prove to myself and to you about respect for your elders. I'd be curious if one of the appearances they got out of MJF and a match they got out of him, not for a title, would be him versus Sting, something that could be somewhat of a novelty because it's probably you have a very short window left to do that.
Right.
So just my fantasy booking as we're watching. Terry Allen Jr. super chat as we segue into the next segment here. He says missed further development book of Hobbs. Well, we did get some powerhouse Hobbs here, but there was not much in the book of Hobbs. It was Hobbs squashing Silas Young quickly, and then backstage in the parking lot we see Wardlow with a bat. Going to town on Hobbs's car, then grabs a forklift, drives it through the windows, and lifts it over. And then he comes out to the stage where he and Hobbs are fist fighting and have to be separated. And Wardlow, for good measure, tossing some people off the stage. So they announced next week here in Pittsburgh, which is kind of like Wardlow's second home, based upon how he started here with us on the independent scene, will be Hobbs versus Wardlow. I believe, I assume the title's on the line. So I wonder if that's the case, if this is the payoff, the blow off to the Hobbs Wardlow stuff, and especially again if it's here where Wardlow's going to get a hometown-esque pop, Issa, is this the attempt to restart my man Wardlow on the path to greatness?
Then why did he lose the title? I don't know.
He did have an injury a few months ago, so I think he was injured, and I think that played into where they didn't want to. They didn't want to alter the title defenses because of injured, so they got the title on somebody else.
I get it. I will tell you one thing. Ever since the haircut, ever since all that, I thought tonight was the most interesting and intrigued that I've been by Wardlow in a while. I like what he did. I thought he came off badass. I hope somebody put that forklift on parking. Otherwise, it's still going down the streets of Milwaukee somewhere. But I did like, finally, because you guys know I'm a big Wardlow fan. What we saw from Wardlow tonight, I thought delivered, and it's about time he doesn't look like a chump to these guys, right? So I like this segment. The squash match was great. I like what they did after. It was a fun segment. It gave me Brock Lesnar vibes. We seen Brock with a forklift, but overall, I like this Wardlow, and I'm happy to be giving a positive, thoughts on Wardlow again.
Yeah, Jimmy, he says right. It did make me pop. He gets out of the forklift and the parking brake wasn't on and it just kept rolling. Luckily the car seemed to stop it, but that could have been a great
also, did you
outfit.
notice that when he was doing that there was cars driving by, and I'm like, do these people know that something is being filmed, or are they just completely ignoring what's going on next to them?
Wherever they were outside the building in Milwaukee, they obviously did not or they couldn't shut down that road,
right?
Because you're right, there was live traffic going on.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, like again, it was interesting. The thing that bothered me a little bit though was it was a long time that Wardlow was working over the car, first with the bat, then with the stanchion deal, and then getting the forklift to do it. And the whole time Hobbs is just sitting there watching it on the screen as it's happening. It just felt like, why aren't you running out there? And then coming, I get it. He's supposed to be the heel here, but at the same time, he's a big badass. And then he waits till he comes out and to show that he's not afraid. He waits for, Wardlow to enter the arena where they do the pull apart. And then, he's taking out his frustrations on Silas Young and that sort of stuff. That's the only thing that bothered me about it. Because you could say, oh, he's running to the back, and that stuff could still happen while he's running to the back. Have the brawl out there by the, that's for me anyways.
I love that you brought that up, because as I was watching, I was like, well, maybe Wardlow is nowhere near, and that's why he's just watching without like helplessly. But then Wardlow makes his entrance, and it takes him like 2 minutes to get inside, and that's when I was like, oh, that's not a good look.
Right. Yeah. That was the only issue. Really, the only issue I had with it.
And John here saying, John Millard, just curious if he was meant to go through both tables and botch to just one. Yeah. Wardlow did powerbomb. I forget who he powerbombed off the Aaron. His name.
Aaron Solo.
Thank you. Yeah, he did powerbomb him off the side of the stage, and there was 2 tables, but he only went through one, and he kind of cracked the back of his head off of the other one. So I don't know where that happened, but hopefully he's okay.
Yeah.
That did look pretty brutal. So Wardlow and Hobbs next Wednesday in Pittsburgh. We'll see where the next stage of Wardlow's booking goes from there. We got a vignette and promo from Jay White and Juice Robinson, just kind of recapping last week on Dynamite, and they proclaimed themselves as Bullet Club Gold. Issa, do you have Ladywood over Bullet Club Gold?
No, not yet. Not yet. This foreplay is slow build, LaBar. We're still having dinner. I just don't know that I miss Jay White's debut. I'm very happy that he found his new home. I just don't know that even back when they debuted him, when they were doing Forbidden Door, I don't know that AEW makes him feel huge. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Put him in the middle of the show in a backstage promo. He just felt like another one of the guys. I don't know. That might just be me.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy and I kind of talked about it last week. It's like you add somebody in Jay White who is a talent and who is one more toy in the toy box that you can do different arrangements with, different matches, different whatever. But does he bring one new set of eyeballs that's not already on the company?
That's the exact argument that we made last week. You're right, Justin. Does he bring new eyeballs? Yes. The hardcore audience that they cater to know who he is and are aware of him and know his talents. At the same time, it doesn't to hopefully somebody who tunes in and goes, oh, Jay White, not sure, don't know, haven't heard of him, not familiar with him. Let's put it that way. And that you want to draw new eyes to the product. So is he a good acquisition? Yes, but at the same time, like you said, tonight he felt like one of the guys.
I did like putting a little bit of emphasis into the Bullet Club stuff because a lot of people are familiar with that. Or if you're just tuning in for the first time, I feel like if you're a wrestling fan, you know about the Bullet Club. So, pointing out how important he was to that, I did like that. I thought that it's a nice added touch for him.
Yeah, but there you go. There's the argument again that people have heard of the Bullet Club, but they haven't heard of.
This kind of feels like it's all done. This is all just a long play to June for the Forbidden Door.
Right.
But then it's like, okay, after the Forbidden Door, how much return on investment do you get? I mean, I don't know. Like I would love to know, but I don't think they're not. It's not like WWE where it's a public company, and even WWE doesn't necessarily always disclose all of what all talent makes. But I would love to, because they're independent contractors. I would love to know what AEW spends on talent. Like, is there a budget? Like, is he not allowed to? I don't think there is. I don't think there's like a certain number he's not allowed to go. I would love to know how much is spent. Like, what is Jay White making? Because like in WWE, you get downside guarantees, but you're working, 3-4 nights a week, and then there's merch incentives and whatever. Like, I'd love to know, like, and obviously, like, it seems like Tony Khan pays you, even like, he doesn't cut you short. He just pays you until the contract runs out, even if he's done with you. Like, so I'd love to know, like, what somebody like a Jay White is getting. Jericho had interesting comments too, Jimmy, kind of in opposition to what you and I are kind of saying. Jericho had a comment, I don't know if it's a podcast or where it was, but he had said something to the effect of like, Jay White, the hottest free agent, 6'4", has an accent, the girls love it, and he chose to sign with us.
He's 6'4".
That's what Jericho said. He's 6'4", has an accent, chicks love it, and he chose to sign with us. If that doesn't tell you that something's going on special with us, and I don't know what will. So I don't know.
Well, he's trying to pump the tires for this guy, but and I get that, and Chris is a great spokesman for that company because people listen to Chris Jericho. People who are not just diehard wrestling fans, they're aware of him. So if they hear him say that, they may go, oh, maybe this guy is worth taking a look at. But at the same time, like we said, he doesn't ring any bells for anybody who, unless you're a hardcore fan.
Yeah.
Wikipedia says he's 6'1".
Okay, there you go.
I believe that a little bit more.
Maybe Jericho meant to hit the 1 and had typo.
He's wrestling talking, so he built him a little bit taller.
Yeah. I'm 6 foot on my license, so in AEW I'm 6'4". John Jordan $5 says they booked Wembley. If I'm Punk, of course I'm saying I want to come back. Has them bent over a barrel.
That's a valid point. What if you're trying to get that big stadium paycheck? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, to be determined with that. All right, back to the ring action. We have your international champion in Orange Cassidy up against 1/3 of your trios champion, Buddy Matthews. They again go back and show you Rampage footage from a few weeks ago of Orange trying to do his Superman Orange Punch and Buddy blocking it with the title. And so Orange just got his hand wrapped up. So he's selling that. That's the story in this match, is he's selling that, and he gets stepped on and untaped and all this going on. And there's one sequence where Orange Cassidy hits 3 different tornado DDTs in 3 different places. And then he hits another finish, and that's the false finish, and no to go. That's not enough to do it. But he does hit the mousetrap roll-up, does Orange Cassidy. And Jimmy, I hear the sigh. I'll go to you. Okay, so I understand this. I understand that the idea here was, and Buddy even sold it after, right? He's doing this. He's like, I was this close.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you want to make it competitive. It was this close, right? I get you. Like, you're trying to keep Buddy up. Okay, cool, fine. Keep Buddy up. Buddy's a good talent. House of Black, cool thing. But I don't think that it makes Buddy seem like, if Buddy gets hit with 3 tornado DDTs in that sequence that he does, and then Orange's finisher, I don't think anybody's faulting him for not kicking out to that.
You not faulting him for not kicking out of the mousetrap? They called it?
No. I'm saying if Buddy Murphy gets hit by those 3 really good-looking tornado DDTs,
yes,
that could just be it. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and go, damn it, Buddy Murphy is worthless. Get him off this company. He can't hang.
It was incredible because the first one was off the top rope and Buddy Murphy rolls to the outside of the ring. Then the second one's outside the ring on the floor. But he rolls back into the ring and he hits him with the third one. Cover 1-2 kick out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That, I get that people are kicking out of DDTs now and that sort of thing. But, you do one off the top, one on the outside, then back in the ring. After 3 of them, you get a kick out. That's ridiculous. And then Orange hits his, what does he call it? The punch? Yes, I get the hand is hurt. But at the same time, you hit 3 DDTs, you hit your finish. He still kicks out, and you do the most devastating move in wrestling is some form of a roll-up now.
Yeah. Well, I told you, when the AEW video game comes out, the roll-up better be the highest rated finish.
Exactly.
Orange Cassidy versus Buddy Matthews here. I thought actually a pretty entertaining match. I like the sell of the hand, but again the roll up finish, as we said. But what did you think of this here between these 2?
I really enjoyed this match. I thought that I know I sound repetitive, but as much as the gimmick of Orange Cassidy is not for me, when he gets in the ring and he's wrestling, man, he's entertaining. I enjoy his matches every single time. I thought Buddy Matthews looked great. I am with you guys. I thought after the 3 DDTs and the finisher, it should have been over if Orange was going over. At that point, when Buddy kicked out, I started believing. I was like, are they going to do this? Are they going to let Buddy Matthews actually win here? Because that should have been the finish. But outside of that, I don't have a lot of criticism. I thought the first punch that Orange hit, when he hit the hand and he kept selling it, it looked like he hurt. Like, the whole sequence was very well done. 2 very talented guys wrestling. I mean, isn't that what we tune in for? We can't complain. I would have put it in the main event, though. I thought the main event was very slow moving compared to this, and this should have main evented, if you want me to be frank.
Oh, my girl, we'll get there. Hang on. Yeah, and I kind of agree. Orange Cassidy's gimmick, I took me a little time to kind of get on with it, and it still has. It is a very, you have to just forward thinking yourself to accept the gimmick. But I have to say, I like watching him wrestle. I do like that he kind of has like the gear that he clicks on and turns on. I think there's something to that. I think the key with characters like his is you got to keep evolving.
Yeah.
That's he's got to he can never be behind he's got to always be a step ahead, because the moment that you get behind is when you get stale. But I think he's done a good job. I like the music when he comes out. I like the image.
I think that Orange Cassidy is capitalizing on something that not a lot of people in AEW are, and that's the kids. I see so many kids dressed up as Orange Cassidy at the shows, and when I see that, that's when I'm like, I get it. And that's why I always say the gimmick is not for me. I know who it's for. Him in the ring, when he gets into it, I enjoy it. But I think the gimmick is more for the kids. And even on his entrance, I think he gave a little high five to a kid dressed up as him. Every AEW show I've been to, I see more than one kid dressed up as Orange Cassidy.
Well, and that's what I want. You pointed out. I've noticed that for a while. He's done that. He's taken a page out of, some of the greatest baby faces ever. Rey Mysterio, Bret Hart. Find a kid who, Rey to this day still goes head to head with any kid wearing his mask ringside, and of course Bret Hart with the glasses, and that's gonna go a long way. So I definitely think that's a great move, a great little babyface trick that he's borrowed and put in his own arsenal.
And like you said, you have to cater to a wider audience. And if the kids you have to cater to kids too. You want them to come, and at least the ones that have to beg mom and dad to bring them. So if you're getting mom and dad to bring the kid, you're selling 2 tickets or possibly 3.
Sure. Jimmy, is he if he keeps evolving, stays ahead, like I said, he's got great babyface staying power. Mm-hmm. Is he a character that you could ever see them putting a heel spin on, that he just turns heel and just becomes just if you feel like you've just ran dry of him as a babyface, could you ever spin it on its head and put him as a heel? While still being Orange Cat, without repackaging him. I mean,
without repackaging, it'll be tough, but man, that's a good question. Anything is possible. And it all depends on the audience too, and how they perceive it, because sometimes they over analyze. Yeah. I'm guilty of that sometimes too, but it's what I do. But
well, people say, look, Jimmy, let me say this. I want to say this as a little disclaimer for you, me, her, and for the rest of us that do this, and even others on other channels that's not even Wrestling Inc. If you listen or watch us and say, man, you guys overanalyze, you have no fun, or you just like everything this person does or that whatever, let me give you something here. If you were asked to actually come on here live, one take, we only get one take, this is live, to articulate and give an opinion that isn't just a repetitive cycle of, yeah, cool, just generic adjectives. If you were asked to come on here and give actual insight and just give reasons for whatever you believe, you could watch a show and say, blah, 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 but if you got to give me a reason, and you're asked to do an hour or whatever it is, of course you're going to overanalyze. That's the idea, is to look and pick up and look for the Easter eggs, look for the way they could have booked it, look for how they're going to book it. It's not that we don't enjoy this. If I didn't enjoy this, you think I'd be occupying my Wednesday night doing that? No, I could just hang out and talk to these two on FaceTime, and I don't have to get the rest of you guys involved in this.
Tremendous.
But that's the idea here, is to give you things to think about and let you debate and let you not like it and let you hit me up on Twitter and get. That's the idea.
Right.
If you were asked to do this, if you were put in the shoes to do this, to be entertaining, think about what you would say.
Exactly. I appreciate. Yeah. Nothing more to be said at this time.
Imagine if we said, yeah, I liked that, it was great, and then all 3 of us said that, and we move on to the next one. We say, yeah, I liked that, it was great. And then we it would be like a 10-minute show and nobody would watch.
And sometimes one of them might say something, folks, just to peel back the curtain here, and I might just play devil's advocate just to hear what their response would be, just to hear, like, what give me the alternative, Yeah. So
but like Issa said, I was enjoying the match with Orange Cassidy and Buddy Matthews. It wasn't that I was enjoying it, but for me, from an analytics standpoint, the 3 DDTs, the punch, and then the roll up finish is what took me out of it.
Yeah.
It should have finished. I really thought when he kicked out that then they were gonna go through and let Buddy win.
I did too.
I thought that should have been the finish.
I did too. I thought we're heating Buddy up big time. Terry Allen Jr. with a super chat saying, besides wrestling, Justin, hobbies you enjoy. Well, when the weather permits it. I love to get on a golf course. That's very zen to me. I love a good fire pit. Love a good cigar at that fire pit. I love biography books. I'm real big on, like, I'm not a fiction book reader, but I like reading. I think you can learn a lot by just reading other people's life stories. Even if you put the book down and say that person was a freaking idiot, I think there's a lot to gain. Jimmy Korderas has a wonderful life story book called The Three Count. Check that out.
Thank you. By the way, Justin, not to interrupt you though, when you said golf, man, it hit me where I live in, and it's funny how many of the boys love to golf, and how much, how I was privileged to get to golf with a lot of them, which is awesome.
Golfing is great to me because, and I guess another hobby, Terry. I'm a huge sports fanatic. I'm a diehard to all my sports teams, so I love all my sports teams. So I will follow all of them to the end of the earth to watch all their games. But the great thing about golf, you are your number one rival. Like it's you. That's what's so psychologically thrilling, is like, it's me. It's what I just did, you dumbass. You are your number one enemy. Nobody else just intercepted or stopped you or whatever. Nobody else just screwed your drive up. It's you. Like that's a fascinating kind of that's Al Snow wrestling with a mannequin head. I mean, it's it's wrestling. It's having a good match with a broom.
Tremendous.
And I love music. I love music of all genres. So I love to sit, especially if I can find it on vinyl. I love to sit and woosah to music. I mean, I'm everybody from Ray Charles to Etta James to Brooks and Dunn to Kid Rock to Stone Temple Pilots to whatever. So
yeah,
that's that. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. Pick it back up here. All right, we got the quick vignette of the Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. Issa, if you didn't watch last week or didn't watch live, this was last week. They showed Christian kind of walking in this, this red glow, and then here comes Luchasaurus, new mask and all. And tonight we get more of the same, but Christian just kind of saying, yeah, some things have changed. So they are heating Luchasaurus back up. Issa, I'd be curious to get your reaction to Luchasaurus and Christian, who they're keeping with this, even if they're done with Jungle Boy. I don't know if they are, but even if they are done with him, they're keeping with the Christian pairing of Luchasaurus.
I like it, especially if you're gonna keep the Luchasaurus gimmick going. Him having a mouthpiece is great. He's got the size. Christian can cut a promo on anything, even a freaking broomstick. It's a good pairing. I like it. I didn't see what happened last week, but I was intrigued by what I saw tonight.
All you missed last week was just the same thing. It was just a vignette.
So they're just doing the vignettes just to kind of like build it up and hype it up. Still happy that they kept Christian with him.
Nice.
Jimmy, I mean, again, Luchasaurus, from a visual standpoint, he makes you do a double take.
No, absolutely he does. He is someone that does definitely get your attention. And you made a good point too, Justin, is that you can continue something with Jungle Boy going forward, because you were talking about of the four pillars, who do you see matching up with MJF? At least if you got Luchasaurus with Jungle Boy, that narrows down the field, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it gives him something that people can be invested in at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So Luchasaurus, we'll wait and see where the timeline here of booking him is. Up next here, this might be the surprise segment of the night in terms of what comes out of it. Ethan Page, him and Matt Hardy having a back and forth. Matt Hardy, I kind of get a little over the minutia of we're arguing. The feud has so much based on contracts and fine print or whatever, but fine print that because Ethan Page lost a hook, Matt Hardy and Private Party are no longer beholden to the firm, and this and that. Well, here comes Big Bill and Lee Moriarty. They attack Hardy and Isaiah, and then out comes Hook, and now the numbers are even, but still the heels are on top because of the blindside attack. And all of a sudden the music hits, and out comes a returning Jeff Hardy, looking great as ever, out with a steel chair, takes some people out, hits a swanton dive, and the crowd up the biggest probably reaction of the night, and justifiably so. It's Jeff freaking Hardy. Jimmy, Jeff is back. I have to assume, based upon how he looks and based upon that he is back, that it wouldn't have been allowed unless he was in a good, healthy space. So this a huge reintroduction for the company, because you have the stuff right now with the firm and blah blah blah. And I love Big Bill. That aside, but the rest of it can kind of just all be put in a blender to me. But this is huge because now you have the Hardy Boys back, and they started it, but then it got derailed with the stuff with Jeff. The Hardy Boys are something, you put them in the right tag team situation, that's going to draw some butts into a Wembley Stadium. You know, the Hardys versus Young Bucks has not ever been done before, but it's not been done. You know, you put a new spin on it when it's an AEW, and then you add the Acclaim, then you add the Guns, then you add FTR. So the fact that you now have the Hardy Boys proper to once again use in AEW, that is a huge get.
It is an absolute huge get. And you heard the reaction tonight. Like you said, probably the biggest pop of the night. That was incredible. And people love the Hardy Boys, and they're recognizable. I hate to keep going back to this, catering to that core audience, but the Hardy Boys are guys that can draw an audience outside of the hardcore fans because they were so revered and loved by the fans, let's say back in the TLC days, for example. So, name value helps. And him and Jeff and Matt are stars. Let's put it that way. And if you do it right, they could add some butts into the seats, like you said, at Wembley Stadium. So as long as they build and build and build and, everything stays cool, all for it.
Yeah. And Killer Demons, I know. That's what I said. I know the Hardys and Bucks have happened. It has not happened as like a main event of an AEW show. And I'm saying is that now on that stage, if they did the backstory, the Bucks are this they model themselves after the Hardys. They were backyard wrestling. The Hardys were their inspiration. So I'm saying you have a chance once again to take some different tag teams and do some things.
No, I won't do it just yet. There's one little critique I do have, but I'll wait till after Issa makes her.
Good, Issa.
I mean, come on. Like, do you not pop for Jeff Hardy every single time? We all do. I automatically threw the cymbals. I'm dancing.
Oh, I stand
healthy.
up and do the.
Yeah, of course. And it's just he's got it right. I love hearing the crowd reaction, and the one thing you pointed out, I love seeing that he looked healthy. I just need him to stay this way. It's like, we have faith in you. Listen to the crowd reaction. We love you. Please just stay healthy. And if this isn't going to lead you in that route, then walk away. Right? Because I just want him to be okay. Now, that being said,
Whoa.
you're always pulling my heartstrings. Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, run it back.
Can you hear me?
Run it back. You said
Okay.
that being said, and you froze. Run it back.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would always pull in my heartstrings to see the Hardy Boys hugging. It always gets me every single time. Doesn't matter how many times we see it, how many promotions, when they reunite and hug, I'm all in. So I'm very happy to see him. I just missed the days when these things were not spoiled and there were actual surprises. Just throwing that out there.
Right.
Yeah, I love. I mean, I don't know, probably two of my favorite guys. I've I don't know, got to meet, got to work, worked with Matt in the ring. I love these guys. I mean, I couldn't be happier to see them. I know Jeff's gotten some second and third chances, and but he's a hell of a talent. He's a good person. He's battled his own issues, and I hope this could be the final run that they deserve.
If there's one critique I could make, and I hate to sound like I'm moving on from this was a wonderful moment, got a tremendous reaction. They didn't allow the moment to settle in and breathe because they went right into a video, not even an interview, a video speech by Kenny Omega. And I don't mind them showing that video, but do it after the commercial. Let people absorb what they just saw. Let them take it in. Let them digest. You know what
Jimmy,
I mean?
I love that you brought that up because I feel like Kenny Omega was like crying about something. I missed last week again. So this was a very depressing video. He's just sitting there so serious. And I'm like, bro, Jeff Hardy just came back. Why are you killing my vibe right now with this like mood? Like, you could at least done a commercial break and hit that after. But he like completely, he killed the vibe. He did.
Well, and so I'll talk about the Omega thing. And then as we'll touch on in a minute later, there's maybe a debate of whether or not Omega even had to have this at home earlier today speech, but he does. Real quick, closing the book on the Jeff Hardy thing. So Jeff Hardy, Matt, they're back. So we'll see where this goes. Again, on the opposite side of things, I mean, Ethan Page, hell of a talent. I don't really buy him in all this thing. I think he could be on his own. I don't really buy on the firm. I buy Big Bill. I'm a big Cass, Big Bill fan. Whatever. You could do the hard. You could sign Enzo's free from MLW. You could sign Enzo and have Enzo and Big Bill versus the Hardys. That's something you could do right now.
Yeah,
you could do it. Just saying it there. Anyways,
you can do it.
You can do it. All right, so let's go. So Omega earlier today, Kenny Omega appears to be at home in his living room, and here's what he's talking about. He's talking about how a couple weeks ago, maybe this was in the last few weeks. He said when you weren't on with us, Blackpool Combat Club, who has been on a violent rage through the roster and through Dynamite, Don Callis showed up in their interview segment. They attacked him. They actually hit Callis. He bumped to the ground. But what the accident that happened, he bumped to the ground and he actually sliced his head off of like a piece of lighting equipment or something.
I did. I was in LA when this happened, but I hear about it. I didn't see it, but people were actually talking about it. I was like, what happened?
The pre-tape,
the
pre-tape segment or whatever, the bump to the ground that's out of camera was not supposed to be as bloody as it was. He literally was just gushing blood. And that they showed it. I like winced. He legit sliced his head open.
I saw the gash. Okay, I remember now.
So that happens, and they've been, and then last week, Brian Danielson took a screwdriver and was going after Hangman and slicing his face open. So like, it's gotten really personal. So Omega's talking about you've gotten personal. Don's family, you crossed the line. It's not going to be blood for blood. That's what you want to hear. No. It's going to be much worse next time I see you. I'm thinking, okay, we got to wait a few weeks so we're going to see him, but we'll get to that. So that's Kenny Omega backstage. So then we get Moxley and Claudio versus Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa, and it's just basically a Blackpool Combat Club beatdown. I mean, they're Nakazawa and Cutler are both just bloody. Mox and Claudio are just pummeling them with finishing moves, and then the ref calls for the bell. So did the ref just stop it? Is it just a stoppage?
I guess
it wasn't a DQ, was it, Jimmy?
I didn't hear an official announcement as to the referee.
They didn't make one.
Yeah, exactly. So the bell just rang, it ended, but they continued the beat down afterwards.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume it was just a ref stoppage for brutality, like a TKO.
I was like, they just do a DQ. They never do DQs, but it was an interesting finish because we don't see these finishes in AEW.
Yeah, so ref stopping, I guess. Moxie's calling out for Cowboy, calling out for Callis. And then out comes Kenny Omega. He's there. He distracts them, and then the Bucks come from behind. They attack. And they try to all get revenge by circling Moxley. They try to get revenge with the screwdriver, but Moxley does escape. So certainly it seems like we're setting up again, double or nothing for a big showdown, a big 4-on-4 showdown here between these. Jimmy, I mean, it was the heel booking continued. I mean, Moxley and Claudia look just vicious out there again, bloody, especially Brandon Cutler wearing that protective face mask and the blood just
underneath it. Yeah,
it was a violent looking image.
It was a hell of a visual. Let's put it that way. And and Claudio banging Cutler's head on the apron 30 times. It was a mugging, to say the least. And I mean, you can make the argument: was the blood necessary? At least it was someone else other than Moxley.
It was a Moxley match, Jimmy. Yeah, there has to be blood, whether it is Mox blood or somebody else's. There's always blood.
Yeah,
there will be blood.
I'm just saying that technically speaking, it's not necessary. It wasn't necessary because they were very brutal. But it is what it is. It's what they do. So.
Yeah, Issa. I mean, they're really AEW's committing to Blackpool Combat Club, which, mind you, has John Moxley, which at one point was one of their biggest babyfaces, has Claudia, which a pretty big babyface when he came over. Not there tonight, but Brian Danielson, one of the biggest babyfaces ever in the business. They are really committing to them being the top heel group here.
It's working. I thought they looked brutal tonight. I like that somebody night one in the chat brought up that Coulter and Nakazawa lasted longer than they expected, because the whole time I felt this match is setting something else up, right? Otherwise, I'm watching AEW Dark right now. So I did think the match lasted longer than what I anticipated for the setup later on. I like the beatdown after. I think the idea of the Elite against Blackpool Combat Club is interesting. I like it. I did think that we didn't need Omega crying somewhere if he was going to come out later. We didn't.
That's what I mean. So going back to what Jimmy was saying, it makes, I don't know if we needed those comments from him in the earlier today. Like, you could have just scrapped that, and that would have bought you 90 more seconds. You could have the Jeff Hardy thing. Live.
Or you could have done Omega like early in the beginning of the night. Just to do it so close to them coming out felt pointless.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we get the armchair book. That's part of what we get to do. So
yeah.
All right, women's match, tag match. Riho, Sky Blue up against Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. Storm's gonna hit the Storm
9:30 on the dot.
There
you go.
Train is never late. Hits the Storm Zero on Sky Blue. Afterwards, they spray paint an L on Riho. They'd hit a triple power bomb. Jamie Hayter to the ring. Britt Baker to the ring. So again, we are dancing towards this showdown, much like we are with Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite. We're building towards this Outcast versus the homegrown pillars, female pillars of AEW. Issa, we haven't talked, you and I, a couple weeks now for the Outcasts. Where are they for you? Are the Outcasts, are they a thing? Are they three established women who have all been in WWE who are establishing themselves here as the pushing people around, or is this like a very, very poor NWO retread?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, right? The one thing that I was disappointed here is that for somebody that didn't watch AEW for 3 weeks, I believe, I felt a little bit out of it in the other storylines, and I feel like the women are still stuck doing the same thing that they were 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that made me a little sad.
Jimmy, I guess same question to you. Where are you at the Outcasts here?
No, I like the idea of it. It just there's something missing. I wish I could put my finger on it, but it's not drawing me in like I think it should be. You know, I like the us versus them mentality of it, and because in AEW it's always the other guys that they take shots at, so it makes sense that the audience boos them as heels because they came from the other place. Yeah. But still, they haven't drawn me in just yet.
I mean, the biggest thing I'll say is that whether this is a result of the Outcast being a formidable heel trio, and we're just not giving them their due, or if it's just giving the situation have on TV, Jamie Hayter, and then I think even to a greater extent tonight, Britt, they continue just to get huge babyface pops. So I don't know if that's in response and support of get these Outcast women, get these bitches. I don't know if it's that or if it's just you're giving us a reason to have Jamie Hayter and Britt come out here, and they're two of the most popular women. But it is at least reminding us that the AEW has some babyface females that the crowd responds to, and that's a hard thing. You can't buy that. That's you got to cherish that. So
agreed.
Yeah. All right, main event time. Keith Lee up against Chris Jericho. And I just remind everybody where this is coming from. Jericho a couple weeks ago when Adam Cole and Britt had their big embrace and Adam Cole's return match, and Jericho kind of, didn't show the respect to, he came out to rescue his boy Daniel Garcia, didn't really show the respect to Adam Cole. And Keith Lee kind of came at him last week at Dynamite and kind of provoked, said, look, you got to start showing some respect and this and that. So that's where this whole match came from. That's the whole origin story. So these two have a match, got some commercial in there, but we eventually bring Daniel Garcia into the ring. He's brought into the ring by Keith Lee, but he's also in the ring, and he ends up distracting the referee after Keith Lee's hit a power bomb. That then allows Swerve Strickland, who of course has a former tag partner with Keith Lee and is trying to settle his beefs. He hits Keith Lee in the face. That then leads to Jericho getting the win. So Jericho gets the win. Swerve is trying to get revenge on all the people he has problems with. That's all there. And then Adam Cole comes out. He comes out, just checks on Keith Lee, slightly glares at Jericho, kind of the same way that Jericho did to him weeks earlier, and we go off the air. A lot of stories here. The Swerve stuff. Keith Lee's in a main event match on Dynamite, first time in however long. Obviously, Jericho and Adam Cole is a long story that we're going here. Issa, again, I think kind of cool to go to you because you had missed the last few weeks. how did this sit with you as a main event, all things considered?
I thought the people involved in it were talented, but something was not clicking for me. I was telling you earlier, I felt it was so slow. And compared to some of the action we saw tonight, it just, I don't know. I would have put Cassidy and Buddy Matthews in the main event spot, if you want me to be honest.
Jimmy,
But I like the
sorry.
stories here. I like the stories that were being told and how many stories we're building from it. But something about this match just didn't click for me, and I felt like they were moving in slow motion. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Jimmy, I like again to like the stories. That's been a critique that we've had of AEW is like you need more story. Okay, so Swerve's got he's got a hit list. He's crawled. All right, so I kind of will get a little bit to that he's in there. We're building Adam Cole versus Jericho. That's going to be a great fit. I mean, who doesn't want to have that on their wrestling promotion?
Right.
But to the match tonight, I kind of agree. This, Keith Lee left WWE. He was kind of one of the ones who got released. Kind of a little, a lot of fans kind of like, oh, they missed the boat with what they could have done with him. Bigger guy, but he's got agility. He's got a certain charisma. And I don't know if that's came across. And now here he is in the biggest match of his AEW career, in a main event on Dynamite up against Chris frickin' Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And I do kind of got to agree with Issa. Some of it's felt slow motion, and then it's like, me on the airport test, and again, not to be ageist, not to be whatever. I found a few grays here in the beard this week.
Mm-hmm.
But Keith Lee just looks like an old guy. I'm sorry. Yeah. I know he's
a year younger than Roman Reigns.
Wow.
Ooh, isn't that a sentence to say? Mm-hmm. And I know that Keith Lee is a sweetheart of a guy. This has nothing to do with This has nothing to do with the person. But he just airport test. He just looks like an old guy. And then I'm watching this tonight, and it did not feel like a main event match performance.
Because I didn't feel any energy from Keith Lee. Yes, he's a big guy. He has a presence. The gray does take away from it. I was like, but he didn't. I didn't feel the energy from him. Do you know what I mean? You're stepping in the ring with a guy like Chris Jericho. There has to be a vibe. There has to be an energy. You have to draw the audience in. To him, it felt like just another match. That was the vibe I was getting off him. So I wasn't getting the investment, wanting to, he's into this. Let's see what's going on. And I like the idea of the story being told here. Hey, this is about respect. I'm going to teach you about respect. But I didn't feel that from him.
No. And I laughed. This is why you have to watch the video version. I laughed because one of the comments was a beat an older looking Carl Winslow. And I'm a Family Matters fan. So.
Nice.
This just I mean, again, stories were told. I understand it's in the main event because you want to go off the air with the Adam, but even the Adam Cole thing, it's like
it was just a glare.
Yeah,
at this point, it's almost like they have Jeff Hardy come back at the end, and everybody leaves with that electrifying finish. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for both of the men that were in the ring. I like that we're building multiple storylines here. It just compared to some of the other things we saw on the show tonight, I just would have flipped it around with something else and put something else on the main event. But this does carry the name value, I guess. And I just don't know that the gray look. The Silver Fox thing is just not working for Keith Lee, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know what? And Issa, to the point, I'll say this. Advertise this as your main event. Right? It's got Jericho in it. Advertise this as your last match. Have it end at Eastern time. We're all three of us are on Eastern. Have it end at 9:55. Mm-hmm. And, okay, Adam Cole's come out. He's taking Keith Lee. Jericho's whatever, he's sitting there and him and Garcia leaving the ring. And we think that's it. Have Ethan Page jump the guardrail, whatever. He comes in and Ethan Page and grabs a microphone, and this show's not in until I start, and he starts to do his thing, and then basically do exactly what you did. Have Ethan Page talk, have Matt Hardy come out, and then do the whole little scrummish. And then have Jeff come out, and you end the night on Jeff back.
Oh my God! What a happy ending! Everybody's going to be talking about it, and people can't wait to tune in next week.
I think the energy of that show is totally different than how it was based upon how they laid this out.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But overall episode, I thought it was a fun episode. Maybe the taking a break helped, but I was entertained. It was just I would have paced a couple of things differently, and a couple of things I didn't think were necessary, like the video package with Kenny Omega and other things. But I didn't think it was a bad episode of Dynamite.
It wasn't bad. It was just, I think, again, there was different things. Jimmy, this goes in, I think, to Tony Khan booking philosophy. I think he values wrestling matches, so he feels main events more times than not need to be wrestling matches. Whereas what I just pitched is you can build to the wrestling match, but the last thing can still be, just can be Gaga. It can be that leads to the return.
It could be the biggest excitement of the night, the biggest pop of the night. Because what are the most important things of a wrestling show? How you start and how you end, because that's what people remember the most.
And they had a great start.
Yeah, they had a good start. But at the ending there, just a couple of guys walking out of the ring and leaving. And where, like you said, I like that idea of ending it on the Jeff Hardy return. A huge surprise, that huge pop, the big hug at the end between Matt and Jeff, and the place going banana.
Changes the whole show because they always remember the finish.
It really does. It really does. Some super chats here. Monopoly Man, $5 says, I was at AEW tonight. It was electrifying, and the Sting and Jeff Hardy stuff was a huge surprise. So yeah, I mean, you saw Sting unexpectedly. That's great. Saw Hardy. It just positioned him where you put him in the show. I guess that's more for the TV audience, if anything else.
But I'm glad you have fun. A lot of times things are completely different when you get to experience them live than what we're seeing on TV. But yeah, I'm glad you had a blast.
Corey Pride, Keith Lee looks like Grandpa. My grandpa. Jericho beat up my grandpa, and Jericho has 12 years on him. Lee needs hairs fenced. He looks awful.
Just for a minute.
It's a visual business. I hate to sound shallow. I'm not trying to be shallow Hal here.
Is.
Yeah.
Not trying to be shallow Hal here and only dating the 10s, but it's a visual business. Want to get a tweet out that was sent to me and Jimmy. It was from at DI3Mex420. Says, fan of your pods, question for the show. Do you like that AEW build their whole show main event over an NXT rivalry when 2 years ago they couldn't stay quiet about beating them? I'm guessing he's referring to the fact that Swerve's getting some revenge.
No, they're talking maybe Keith Lee and Adam Cole.
But that's not. I didn't interpret anything tonight as we're rehashing anything from NXT. Yeah, a lot of players tonight have had time in NXT, but I don't. No direct correlation kind of is drawn there to me. I don't just
no, and for me, it's probably more along the lines of if they're doing something that was done in NXT, that's their minds saying, "Oh, we could do it better."
Yeah.
Well, then do it better, because Adam Cole and Keith Lee both felt like a huge deal back when they were having their program in NXT.
No, I agree, but that's the mindset, I guess.
Right.
Well, you know why? Because they felt like a bigger deal in NXT because every single week they were on NXT, but here when MJF is the only thing. MJF and Orange Cassidy are the only two for sure things that are on every single week.
And the women at 9:30.
And the women at 9:30. And it's like, look, MJF and Orange Cassidy are both title holders, so I get it.
Yeah.
But but that's where you run into. You have a 2-hour show of Dynamite, and you have all these people that are in your ear that you're paying. So it's like,
I think Moxley too. I think I see
Moxley's on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But so again, okay, so those three are got to be on. That's cool. But then, Adam Cole should also be on every week. So
right.
So then you need to start to say, okay, well, how many people do I not necessarily need otherwise? Yeah.
It's a very, very big roster, and I don't know how you do it. It's impossible, basically.
I would love to know what they are paying. I'd love to know what the total expense is, but we won't. But I'd love to know. Love to know. All right. That was Dynamite tonight from the good land of Milwaukee. Again, it was what it was. They're on this long stretch until Double or Nothing. So they have, like next week, Brits in a tag match here in this whole against the Outcasts, Hobbs and Wardlow. So we have some stopping points of payoffs. So we'll see what happens next week. Dynamite in Pittsburgh. We're still building long term to Double or Nothing. Again, Forbidden Doors after that. Wembley's after that. CM Punk in question, as we talked about at the top of this podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, share, do all those things. final plugs and well wishes for the night. Ladies first. Issa, go ahead, please.
You guys can find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Also, Lucha Libre Online, my own YouTube channel. Anybody watching from Puerto Rico, Ponce Pro Wrestling this Sunday. Go to that show. I highly, highly recommend that you go to that show.
Very good. And Issa, I assume you're going to be in the mix when Backlash comes to town.
Yeah. I got a couple of things that you guys will see me with the content in the interviews and all that.
Cool.
Very good.
Very cool.
Jimmy, final words.
Well, like you said, you can see me here on Mondays and Wednesday nights at talking Raw and then Dynamite, and you can catch me on all my social media platforms doing my ref and rants on a daily basis from Monday to Friday. Again, not to tear down, but to tighten screws and want to see things get better. That's all. And try to have a little fun with it. And you can catch myself and my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, on the Reffing It Up podcast with RJ on Wednesdays. It drops usually every Wednesday. And this week we had Gangrel on.
Ah, nice.
So we were fanging and banging with Gangrel.
That's awesome. I haven't listened to it yet.
Banging and banging, brother. Yes, Ref and Rant, Titan Screws. He is the human screwdriver that is Jimmy Korderas. I'm at Justin LaBar across the socials. Do the thing there. Here on the Wrestling Podcast several nights a week. I'm on Busted Open this Friday, every Friday morning. Most every Friday morning, channel 156. Spar with LaBar, with Dave LaRecca, Thunder Rosa, Tommy Dreamer, Mark Henry. Who the hell knows? It's always a crazy time. Appreciate it again. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things to the podcast as we continue to grow it every single week. That's going to be it. Again, if you're checking us out on demand after the fact, please leave a comment, leave a like. We really appreciate it. We love reading the comments. Constructive criticism is fine. Don't be a troll. Don't be a troll, but leave your positive comments, leave your criticism, leave your opinions. That is all good fun. All right. Thanks everybody in the chat. It's been a lively chat here tonight. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed Dynamite. If you didn't watch any of it and you're going off our recommendations, hopefully you know where to go and what to find. That's going to do it for the Wrestling Podcast here on Wednesday night, April 12th